Hello, boys and girls. My name is Dr. Katrina Steele, and today I am going to show you, as being one of your guest stars, how to make bread. Now, I have been making bread for a long time, at least since I was a teenager when I got interested in making and baking and cooking. And some of it had to do with the fact that I had younger siblings, so I was in charge of making dinner at a certain age. So it got me interested to find out, like, does it taste better when it's homemade? And the answer is yes, it does. So today what we're going to do is we're going to make a basic bread. So what you're going to need to do is first you read all the directions. That is the most important thing, because if you don't read all the directions, then you don't know everything that you need to do. And you won't even know if you have the ingredients that's necessary to make what you want to make. So always make sure that you read the directions. So before you watched this video, you were given a worksheet, and that worksheet had you doing a half. So I gave you guys a recipe, the ingredients of the recipe, but we're only going to make one loaf, not two, so we don't need everything that they say here. Now, this is taken from the Betty Crocker Complete Cookbook. And it says that we need 6 to 7 cups of all-purpose or bread flour. Now, I use bread flour, and I find that the bread flour tastes better. You need 3 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of shortening, 2 packages of yeast, and 2 1/4 cups of very warm water, and 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine melted if desired. Now, this is for later on in the recipe, but you won't know that unless you read it. So let's read the directions. It says, in a large bowl, stir 3 1/2 cups of flour and sugar, salt, and shortening and yeast until well blended. Then you add the warm water. Beat with electric mixer on low speed, scraping the bowl frequently. Beat on medium speed for 1 minute, scraping the bowl frequently. Stir in remaining flour 1 cup at a time to make the dough easy to handle. Now, like I said, we're only doing half this recipe. So that means that we don't need as much as what we just read, okay? And we're going to place the dough on a lightly floured surface and knead for about 10 minutes or until the dough is smooth and springy. Grease a large bowl with shortening. Place the dough in the bowl. Turn the dough to grease all sides and cover the bowl with plastic wrap and let rise in a warm place for 40 to 60 minutes. So from 40 minutes to an hour. I usually go with an hour, okay? And it says another or until the dough has doubled in size. Now, if the dough doesn't double the size in 40 to 60 minutes, that usually means that your yeast is old. Now, you always have to check your yeast to make sure that it is within the date. Now, the date on here says it's good until 2023. And you can tell that by looking at the expiration date on the top over here. It says expiration date, yep, 2022, sorry. So it is within date. You should also get a reaction. And for this video, we are actually I'm going to show you that you don't have to throw everything all together. I want you to see the reaction of the yeast first, okay? Different recipes for bread will have you do things differently. I prefer to put the yeast with the warm water and the sugar and let it bubble up. That way, too, I'm not wasting flour and a bunch of other ingredients until I know that the yeast is good. Because every once in a while, if the yeast has been sitting in your cupboard for too long, it won't work, which means that it won't rise later. And you want risen bread, because otherwise it's too dense and it's gummy and it's gross, okay? It tastes like dough. And you don't want it to taste like dough, you want it to taste like bread. Okay, so the next, so it says that you will place the dough and knead the dough. You're going to grease a large bowl with the shortening. You're going to put it in there. We're going to let it rise, okay? Then you're going to grease the bottom of a loaf pan with shortening or spray. Then you're going to deflate the dough after it's finished rising. You're going to deflate the dough and flatten, and you're going to roll the dough up tightly and press it into your shape that you want it in. Then you're going to leave it alone again to let rise between 35 and 50 minutes. So really, it takes a little bit of time to make bread, and you can understand why it would take a long time for women back in colonial times to make this bread. Of course, too, we have a lot better tools than they did, and we're not going to be baking it with fire, so we're just going to make it regular, okay? Then we're going to move the oven rack to a low position so the tops of the pan will be center of the oven. Heat the oven to 425. We're going to bake the bread for 25 to 30 minutes or until the loaves are deep golden brown with a hollow sound when tapped on the bottom, okay? Remove from pans to a wire rack, brush loaves with butter, and let it cool, okay? Very important to let it cool, because otherwise if you cut it, even if it's nice and warm, sometimes it will make it taste a little bit doughy. So you want to let it cool down, and it will still be nice and warm by the time you can cut into it, but you just don't want to cut into it too early, okay? Now that we've read the directions, now we're going to follow the directions, okay? So Dr. Steele said that we were going to do things just slightly different, and we are, okay? Now, I'm not in my kitchen because my internet connection, with everybody being on the internet due to the coronavirus, everyone's on the internet doing schoolwork just like you. So my internet's not working as well. What I have here is warm water, okay? And I have the yeast packet. Now I'm going to open up the yeast packet, and I'm going to go ahead and dump it right into, there it is. Oh, dump it right into the water. Now, you can, if you want, stir it just a little bit, okay? But what you're going to start seeing is the reaction of the yeast, and that's really important, okay? As you can see, the yeast itself is just a plant. And we shake it up, stir it up, and you can see that some of the reaction is that it gets a little bit gummy. It clumps together and gets a little bit fuzzy. Now, all the reaction that's happening isn't exactly exciting. It's not a big, huge, let me explode the chemistry lab, is it? No, it's just reacting enough to let me know that this is good yeast. And what I'm going to do to make it act a little bit funnier is we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the 1.5 tablespoons of the sugar, because it says on here 3 tablespoons. Well, this is a tablespoon, but I'm only going to do 1.5 of sugar into our yeast, because yeast likes to eat. And what does it eat? Sugar. Okay. So here is my sugar. As you can see, it is decorated with Disney. And you know why? Because Dr. Steele loves Disney. Okay. So here's 1 tablespoon. Now see how nice it fills up the whole thing? There's no, it is totally full, but it's not overheaping. It's just really right there, okay? So you're going to put that in there, And then you're going to get your half a tablespoon. You should actually get another spoon, and it's going to say half a tablespoon. Half a tablespoon. Now, what you might notice is that it says TBS, and that is short for tablespoon. Okay, tablespoon is different than teaspoon. Teaspoon will have TSP, but we want a tablespoon. Okay, so make sure you have it. Then you're going to do your evening out, and you're going to put it in there. Now, you stir it again, you notice that was sugar, and you can hear it, it's kind of granular in there, okay, which means that it has some texture, okay? So since this is warm water, it was just going ahead and dissolving the sugar. Now, I'm done with the sugar. We're going to go ahead and put that away for now. I will put it back in the kitchen when I'm done. So now the thing that we're going to go on to is your bread flour. Now notice Dr. Steele is moving things around to make it more, to have more space, okay? Now it says 6 to 7 cups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 3.5 cups in here, okay? And the reason why is because that's right there in the between the 6 and the 7 cups, okay? And I'm going to use bread flour. Now again, I like bread flour, and I'm not telling you that you have to get Pillsbury. You can get, you know, the Publix brand, or you can get the Harris Teeter brand. It doesn't matter. Branding isn't the thing here. It's right here. Bread flour, okay? So what you're going to do is the same thing. You have to make it level. Otherwise, it's not really a cup. Otherwise, at that point, it becomes too much. Right? You don't want too much or too little of the flour. You just want it to be enough. So here I am straightening it out, making sure that it's 1 full cup. And then here I am two cups. And 3 cups. Yes, I'm making a little bit of a mess in my living room. That is what a vacuum is for. And then your 1/2 cup. Again, you're going to go ahead and get the proper tool. And there's your 1/2 cup, okay? Now, I don't use salt in any of my baking, and nothing has ever come of it that was bad, so I'm going to go ahead and leave the salt out. So we move on to putting in the 2 tablespoons of shortening, okay? Now, shortening is different than butter. This one happens to be all vegetable. And you want to go ahead and get out your tablespoon again. And it's okay to actually use the same one. Now, that is not what you're looking for, right? You want it to be nice and smooth. You just run your finger. Now, something really important that I didn't talk about is the fact that I washed my hands before we started this. That probably should be in the directions number 1. All right, and then we put more in. No, it's very much a woo. Okay, and we've got the shortening. And now we're going to go ahead and add in our warmed up yeast. Now look at the top there. You can see that it has formed a bubble layer. Okay, there's your chemical reaction as we're seeing it. There's more reactions that's going to keep happening because yeast and sugar and warm water want to eat. And what do they eat? The bread, right? And what are they pushing up? They're pushing up to make it rise. Okay, so we have put in the water and we have put in the bread. Now, it says that you take this and you knead it. I need to knead it in the bowl. And the reason why, again, is because of the internet bandwidth. So what I'm doing is I'm just bringing it around with my hand, okay? And I'm not afraid of getting anything dirty, am I? No, because in order to bake or cook, you have to make a mess. And then you have to clean the mess. All right. So as you can see, as I'm kneading it together, which is using your hand, especially right here, I'm kneading it and making it a ball, okay? The reason why is because we're gonna knead this all together and we're gonna knead this to come together into a ball so that it can grow. And where's it gonna grow? It's right in another beautiful pan, which actually bowl, just like this. But here's our bowl that we're going to use. Now, the thing that we have to do is we have to put oil in this bowl. So I have oil. I'm going to tell you a little secret about this oil. You can actually use it, use the cap, pour the oil in, and that's going to be enough to oil your bowl. Now this is a piece of paper towel, okay? And I'm putting it all around the bowl, okay? It's nice and shiny now. And I'm gonna take our bowl, our round dough, okay? Which I'm just continuing to make it rounder. Okay. And putting it in here. Now in the recipe, it says to go ahead and rub it around and get it nice and get it oiled. Okay, that's fine. Then it says to go ahead and put some plastic wrap on top. Now you don't have to use plastic wrap. See, my bowls actually came with a top. So I'm going to put the top on it, and in an hour, we're going to check this. Now, sometimes the best place for a nice warm spot would be if you were to open up your window, let the sunshine in, and stick this right in the sunshine. Or you could put this on top of your oven. You can run the oven at 400 for about 10-15 minutes, let it warm up, and then that warmth will actually come up through the top and will surround this bowl and make it warm. Whichever way you choose to do it, we'll see you in an hour. All right, kids, an hour has gone by. How did you spend your hour? I folded laundry, I cleaned up in here, I vacuumed, and I put all the things away so that we could have a little bit of an easier time in here. Okay, so this is our dough, and I can tell just by holding it that it has expanded. But just to show you, there you go. It has expanded. It is bigger. All right, and it says in the directions that let's see, grease the bottom and sides of a loaf pan, which I have done. And then I'm going to punch the dough down, which I'm doing now, right? And I'm kneading it just a little bit. And it says roll the dough up tightly, beginning at 9-inch side. Press the thumb to seal each turn, okay? So basically what they want you to do is to make a loaf. And so what you have to do is it's kind of a lot like Play-Doh. So here we are. We've got our dough, and we're turning it around, and we're making it look a little bit more like a loaf. Okay, just kind of a round loaf here. And then what you're going to do is then you're going to stick it, and it should be nice, and it should have like some kind of warmth. I mean, what I did is for my hour, this dough was on top of my oven because I know that the heat from my oven comes up. Plus, it's kind of a colder day here in Florida. Oh, and the part of Florida that I live in is Tallahassee. All right, so this looks kind of like a little loaf, right? Look, it fits really well in here. Now it says in the directions, it says to cover loosely with plastic wrap and let it rise in a warm place 35 to 50 minutes. So what we're going to do is we'll cut the difference. So in 45 minutes, we are going to go ahead, and this can be covered by a towel, but you still want to go ahead and put the wrap on it, the plastic wrap first, because otherwise the dough, when it rises, could actually stick to your towel, and that's not a fun mess. That's kind of gross, actually. And then, so what we're going to do is put some plastic wrap on this. I'm going to put it back in my warm place, and in 45 minutes, I will see you. Now let's see how productive you can be during that 45 minutes. So go ahead at about halfway to 45 minutes. So again, math comes in handy again. Maybe about 20, 25 minutes in, go ahead and turn your oven on to 425. We're going to be baking the bread at 425 for about 25 to 30 minutes. So we want to make sure that the oven is nice and hot. Let it preset, let it be warm, because the worst thing to do is to put it in a cold oven and have to have it come all the way up. Not only that, but all that good yeast chemical reaction that we've been getting where it's been like rising will suddenly find itself falling because there's not enough heat to keep it going. So go ahead and turn on your oven to 425. We have another about, how long do we have? That's right. So do your math, figure that out, and then press continue. So kiddos, our bread has risen. So we're going to go ahead and pop this in the oven, and then we're going to see the finished product. So remember, 25 to 30 minutes. And you want to make sure not to open up the oven until at least 25 minutes has gone by. So put your oven on and put the timer on so that we don't overbake this. And then we'll take a look at it, and we'll tap the back of it too. Welcome back. Hopefully your house smells just as good as mine does. Now, what they're talking about is while it's still warm, so you're supposed to have a nice bottom with it's supposed to sound like that. Now we just have to let it cool, and then you can eat some nice warm bread, put some jam on it, put some butter on it. Just enjoy. All right. Thank you for coming along with me on this Journey of making bread.